NTV.
This is The Last Word.
Good evening and welcome to The Last Word. If you're joining us online, on air, and of course on ground, most welcome to the most definitive news program. We have this show because, like everyone else, many different things seem to compete for our attention. Most of the time, we cannot make sense of it all. Was it a fake post? Was it an AI-generated video? Or these people who are deliberately trying to mislead us, are they alive? Now, this week, we focus on the most urgent issue of our times, the economy. Former U.S. President Bill Clinton, during his campaign for office, exclaimed on the campaign trail when asked what he considered the single most important issue. He said, "It's the economy. Stupid." Here at home, we have experienced our own versions of that, with bottom-up economics dominating our politics. 2 years into this administration, is Kenya's economy better than it was about 5 years ago? What do we exactly mean when we say Kenya is the 6th largest economy on the continent? And how do we measure what a Kenyan feels in their pocket? Is it possible for the economy to grow in absolute terms and not be felt personally? So many questions to answer tonight. To help us make sense of it, everything is Eric Latif, who prides himself on asking uncomfortable questions, separating facts from fiction. Zaha Indimuli, a free-spirited feminist, Gen Z, and explorer of a new Kenya and indeed the world. On the set also features Sharon Momanyi, a journalist with over 15 years of experience who has covered some of the most important issues of our time. She continues to do so with sharp focus. And, of course, the wise Joe Geo, a newsroom leader and esteemed editor who has covered local and global issues for well over 25 years. I'm James Mwat, deliverer of some hard truths, believer in slow journalism and narrative building. Every week, we'll also have a live audience, especially chosen to interact and examine the issues at hand. The final word starts right now. All right, let's start with the hot buttons of the issues. This is how we start this show. Let me start with the Gen Z. What's your hot button this week, Zah?
Oh my. Well, apart from the sad reality of having to bury young children on a case that Kenya has actually never seen before, my hot button of the week is the teacher and the system. The grooming and silence that has been happening in our country around our institutions, and the case that we have seen in Alliance Girls, whereby a teacher has been reported to have not only engaged in indecent acts with students, but also grooming them, and also being accounted for serious allegations around children. And I think for me, when I think about the Children's Act, when I think about the Sexual Offense Act of 2006, the criminalization around which we see our country projecting when it comes to the protection of children, noticing that Kenya is a signatory to so many treaties that are supposed to protect our children, it does not need Kenyan women or Kenyans at large to protest outside the school for us to demand justice for children who are supposed to be in school safely, who are not supposed to be scared, who are supposed to be in institutions of learning to get their academics and go back to their parents safe. Now, we've had a country that has not only had a case of femicide, we're also seeing children being actual targets, perpetrators grooming them, and institutions of power protecting perpetrators over and beyond the legislative purposes that we do have in this country. So my question becomes, where are children safe? Where are young people safe? At whose hands are these kids going to be safe if they're going to be abused in school, they're going to be abused at home, and in unfortunate events whereby they're going to be killed while watching TV? So this state brings very incredible questions. And for me, as a young person, I am scared. I am scared to walk around. I am scared to see my siblings go to school. I am scared to be anywhere, courtesy of the fact that no institution stays alert to protect me and every young person, leave alone a child in a school. That is my hot button of today.
And that's a hot one. Mine is looking into the future. So everything held constant, there's a general election that's expected to happen in August 2027. Now, there's been a lot of excitement because on Friday, new commissioners were sworn into office for the IEBC. But many people do not know that you do not need the commissioners to be in office for you to register as a voter. But now let's deal with all that, okay? Are the youth ready for August 2020? Million did not. As of the morning of August 9th, 22, when we had a general election, 22.12 million people were registered as voters. By the end of that day, only 14.2 million people had actually turned up to vote. So even those that had registered to vote, some 7.8 million or so people did not go to vote. Are you ready for August 2027? So if we just look at the number of people who are now eligible to vote, those that were aged between 10 and 14, 2022, who are now between 18 and 22, that's about 6.3 million extra people. Now let's do the math. 3.5 million people who are people who have not voted before, who could vote in 2027. That's more than the 14.3 million people who actually voted in 2022. You, Gen Z, are you ready to vote? You will not do it on X. You'll not do it on social media. You'll not do it on any other platform in going to the nightclubs and shouting what you shout. You'll do it on the ballot. Register.
A real challenge there. Do you have the change that you seek in your hands? And mine has to do with the question of safe spaces. And I'm talking about the death of 24-year-old Julia Wangui. Yet again, another young Kenyan who died in the hands of police custody. Julia Wangui had participated in the Saba Saba protest in Nanyuki when that happened. And she was arrested, charged with destruction of property, was arraigned in court, was, given a bail, she could not raise cash bail of 50,000. And in the next sequence of events, within that day, when she was arraigned, 8th July to 12th of July, the Kenya Police Service, because when she could not raise the court bail, she was then remanded at the Nanyuki women's prisons. And then she started complaining of feeling unwell, dizziness, stomach aches, and was taken to hospital. And the Kenya Police Service, in their statement following the death of Julia, have come out to say that they reacted promptly and comprehensive medical attention to Julia when she needed it. And then the question, then the back and forth, as we have seen before with the death of Albert Ojwang, with the death of Boniface Kariuki, the Kenya police saying that when she was arrested, she was okay. The Kenya prisons are saying that when she was taken in, they only reported unwellness in their custody. What am I driving at? There is a pattern, a very dangerous pattern that we are seeing in the country. Young people dying in the hands of police custody. The lives of young people being reduced to hashtags and footnotes, the stories of the escalating narrative of police brutality and violence. And of course, family have said that an interest into this matter will be inevitable. And I just want us to listen to Julia's grandmother, Habin, when she was speaking about this issue.
Right now, Julia and what did she do? They were guiding us through, and when we go to see Julia, they were following us. So it is intimidation of the family.
Who killed Julia? Those who were arrested alongside her report of her seeing her being harassed by a police officer while in police custody. But the real question is that the Kenyan authorities must rein in to this dangerous trend in the country, and that we must demand an end to this trend. That's my hot tone.
Wow, mine is rather similar, dastardly echoes from our past. I have lately had some politicians, some of them from North Rifts, and I suspect from other parts of the country, beginning to develop this pattern that we've seen before, telling some people you should leave this area if you do not support this or that other person. Now that disturbs me because I have heard this before. I've seen what it does. In 1992, as a first-year student at the university, I saw hordes of people who had been dismissed by ethnic clashes that had been raging in different parts of the Rift Valley. I was also here in 1997 when there was the Kaya Bombo massacre. Many people know that, where all these people raided a police station, killed officers, took 40 guns, went into the neighborhood on a killing orgy throughout the night. And at the time they were done, more than 100 people had been killed. And it's because there were politicians who were accusing certain groups from different parts of the country of supporting the opposition at the time. And we saw that. But who would forget 2007? I mean, when, for example, we saw a church burned in the Rift Valley, where 30 people died. Many had taken refuge there. The entire post-election violence, more than 1,100, 1,300, depending on who you are, died. 600,000 displaced. People shot by police officers. I was also here. I covered the trials in The Hague, and I know how much tension there was in the country. So to think that certain politicians today would be asking people, leave this place, do the other thing, it bothers me because I know exactly where that dastardly road leads. So these politicians just need to stop, give us a break. We are not going back there. That's my hot button.
Well, Button states something similar to that. And it's been dismissed or christened that its politicians are behaving badly. So we've heard from last week the Wajir Ruben rep, Fatma, saying that they will add votes for their preferred presidential candidate, who happens to be President William Ruto, and that in fact it doesn't matter what happens to the ballot on that day. We also had it before from Kapsaret Member of Parliament, Kasudi. He said the similar thing. In fact, he said, we know how to get the votes and how to fill them up. Now, this can all be dismissed as empty talk if you like, or politicians just behave badly. I'd like to remind you that before 2007 elections, we had similar echoes from politicians. They said, it doesn't matter who you vote for, we will fill up votes. That does something to the election psyche, but most importantly, talks about this integrity of something that I like to call a vote, an election, and suggests that we people are the ones who make the final choice. It appears from this talk that we don't. And that's the thing. That's the thing about this talk, that the politicians are telling us clearly, eloquently, that they decide who gets elected. Not you, not me, we the people. That's not just another talk. And so when the IEBC confronted with this, the new IC, I should say, who's in office possibly less 5 days, wish them luck, by the way, they said in a statement that essentially you should ignore it. They're just empty political talks. It raises fears for everyone who's interested in the sanctity of an election, that just by the mere fact that IEBC doesn't take to be as serious as to question these politicians, to put them notice, we really do not understand the value of what this politicians. But to double down, let's play this bite, you to listen.
Ngoje tu debe iletwe, kama tutakuwa na votes, tutamuibia, hiyo si siri.
All right, that's my final word. Enough said. All right, let's get some
2 quick hot buttons from the audience. Shall I start with the lady that's ahead of me? What is your button? What's your name and what's your hot button this week?
My name's Patricia Gaki, and I'm very excited to be here today. Now, I really love what you guys have brought up. But now, we are talking today about the economy Kenya. Every day we are told that the economy is growing, it is growing. So is it growing from your pocket, or is it growing from data that we are hearing every day? It's good to note that just between December 2024 and January 25, that's only 1 month, over 231 companies dissolved. Yeah, and then the Federation of Kenya Employees reported between 22 and 2023, about 70,000 people lost their jobs. So every time you are told that the economy is growing, we are meant to wonder, where is it growing? Is it growing on papers? Because we as a common Mwananchi, we don't feel that growth yet.
Okay, this is our pick of the day, and we'll come back to that. I want to know of your data. Please, good sir, what's your name and what's your hot button for this week?
Thank you very much. My name is Samuel Mwirore Thiongo. Come from Gilgil constituency, Gilgil ward, and thank you very much for having me in the show. My hot button I would probably share with Sharon, and I think I share in the tragedy that has happened this week in Nanyuki, where we saw the death of Julia Njoki, dying in the custody of the police. And I think it's so sad that we are losing young people every day. I mean, it's countless. It is, we don't even count since the day we began the Maandamano on June 5th, 2024. We cannot be able to even count the number of people who have died. And I think that's so sad. And when you look Julia's grandmother, you can almost, shed tears, because it is so painful to lose a young partner and a young talent, and probably somebody who was expected to help their family probably in the future. Yeah, thank you.
That's a good one. That's a good hot button. It's good that, we're getting to that point where we can express ourselves and express our emotion.
And I like that we are all talking about this, because in abusive relationships, and this could be, it has all the indicators of one, there's something called continuous reinforcement, that you get so used to bad things happening that it's so normalized, you start asking for an alternate state. And it's a very good thing to keep amplifying these questions and asking for accountability. Thank you for that.
And that's what we do here in The Last Word. The other thing that we do is we confront this thing. Fake news, misinformation, disinformation. When can you tell when what you're consuming is real or fake? Whether it's misinformation, whether it's disinformation. When you tell whether you're being conned or not, or whether you're just being lied to or not. Now, we have an exercise, and I'm going to move to the audience. You have the flag view. You've got, it's red and green. I just want you to show me the green one first. Let's all be sure that we are engaging on the right thing. The green one, green one, okay. And then the red one. The red one, oh wait. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play 2 videos. And when each of those videos plays, I'd like you to show with your, to vote with your finger whether what you're seeing is real or fake. Real being green, fake being red. Real being green, fake red. Now, let's play the first video.
Thousands of Kenyans over the age of 40 are quitting their jobs and retiring. All this is thanks to a financial platform developed by the government.
I want to tell you that today is your lucky day. I do not know if everyone will be able to watch this broadcast, but only those who are lucky enough to find will be able to take advantage of this opportunity.
Okay. You've seen the video? Bad, right? So, green if that was a real video, red if that was a fake video. Let's see. There's some green here, green there,
I'd like to hear from you. What makes you think that's a real video?
One, I think I have seen former Chief Justice David Maraga, and I think that's him. I think I can be able to recognize an AI-generated video, and I think that's a
so that's David Maraga, and that was Joe Ageo.
Yes.
Okay. And what they were saying? You didn't get the context of what they were saying. Okay, let's go to somebody who had a read. Somebody up there.
Thank you. My name is David Mwangi, a statistician from the University of Nairobi. I'm the chairman of Organization of Nairobi University Science Students. Now, for me, the content of the video is what that makes me feel that it's not a real video, because what is being talked about is something, a contrast of what happens in the real world here in Kenya. And like people quitting jobs. They don't even have the jobs themselves. Where are they quitting from?
Okay, I want to take one more. There were many reds. And I read, okay, let's pass on the mic to the gentleman at the back. Why do you think that's a fake video? You can stand up and tell us your name.
Thank you. My name is Ireri Wallen. One, the video to me is fake. It's generated, one, because the writing's below there. Number two, I watched the original one of Joe Ageo and Maraga, and I think what was there last about jobs and seizing opportunities, it was quoted. So me, I think it's fake.
When you listened, did you hear Joe Ageo?
Yes, I heard him say of 40,000 people quitting jobs.
And when you listened, did you hear David Maraga?
And yeah.
So that's Maraga speaking?
He was speaking, but...
The voice?
Yeah, the voice is...
Maraga.
Although it's a bit distorted, you could hear from afar. Thank you.
Asante sana. We will come back into those videos and look at and see, are they real? Is the video real or is it fake? I understood the second video. So take a look at this particular video. It's of a process that's happening somewhere. Listen and watch keenly. Let's look at it. Okay. Red for fake, green for real. And everybody must vote. Look around. Just everybody must vote. What do you think? Real? Red? Okay, let's start with you. You think it's fake? You can stand up, tell a name and why you think.
Okay, thank you. I'm Salim Protas, a finalist at Kenyatta University, pursuing finance. I'm also the chairperson of Person Emeritus of our Kenyatta University Economic Students Association. So, in my opinion, I feel, or I think rather, that the video is fake. These are reasons as to why. Those were not the chants that were actually being chanted during the mandamanos on whatever the dates that were having the mandamanos, because they all knew that the bagged audio and whatever was actually happening on ground is totally different, in my opinion, because I was participating in the...
You were in the mandamano?
Yes, gladly.
And you don't remember shouting?
I don't remember shouting such.
All right, from the other side, yeah, gentlemen.
I'm Martin Ombogo from the University of Nairobi. I'm pursuing economy and statistics for the year, waiting for the graduation. Home is Nyeri. To me, I think the video was real because I can remember such chanting of Thomas Go. And the clothes seems to be real because there.
You were there? You were there?
I was there.
Okay. We're just going to put the video just on a frame on the screen, as I pick the other person. So you said that this is fake. Let's hear you.
Hello, my name is Cosmas Karat from Kenyatta University, taking a bachelor's in economics and finance. I really think that the video is fake and probably AI generated because, number one, in a protest, we expect to see mixed reactions. Number two.
What do you mean mixed? Yeah.
Because, of course, people be expressing their, say, dissatisfaction, but in different ways. But we only had one audio, like, Mwizi Ruto must go. And number two, the video, it's only an aerial photograph. I mean, it's only aerial, and we are just seeing representations of people. So I think it's not close. So yeah, it's something that's very aerial, and I didn't any closed caption of the people. Yeah. So thank you. I really believe it's an AI. Thank you.
Okay. We shall take a break, come back and look at those videos. So we want to look at a couple of things. We want to look at a couple of things. Number one, look at the video and where it was played. And we want to play the video we've just played. We want to replay it again and just look at it keenly. And I want to see the who said green and those who said red. Listen to the video, look at the video, and because you participated in the Mandamano, tell me where that was. You know, the two of you, whether you are part of the crowd that we're actually seeing in this video. Let's play that video again for them to see. Okay, and the greens? No more green. Oh, the greens are still here. Okay, we still have greens. Yeah, and the red. Oh, you have another. Let's hear from you. Yeah, so you say that this is a real video. What's your name and why do you think it's real? You were there.
Yeah, my name is Elvis Pampula from Busia County, and thanks for the opportunity. One, I thought the fact that the video is real because one, I was there. I participated in some of the Mandamanos.
You were here in that video?
Not really, but
not this one. Okay.
In the context of whatever was coming from the ground, if you are in one of those Mandamanos, you will hear such chants like "must go" one time, and looking at the crowds. In as much as he said the video is aerial, it was taken with an aerial view. Fact is, someone take a video from wherever they are, and it would be very clear to show who exactly the person is. Notice the cameras are so sophisticated as those you're using at NTV right now. So yes, I support the fact that the video is real because of chance and the context. Thank you.
Okay. So let's hear from him. He wants to, he has a reminder.
Thank you so much once again. In an idle Mandamano in Kenya, we expect to see the police, we expect to see the tear gas, we expect to see the water cannon. So I've not seen any of that. That's an AI. So my brother, I really don't know. And then we've not seen, you have not seen people return the tear gas and all that. So, yeah.
It's not characteristic.
Yeah, it doesn't bring out what we are seeing on the TV. So
okay.
I believe it's an AI. Thank you.
What is the actual situation here? After this break, we'll play again those two videos and we'll show whether it's real or it's fake. And we'll explain why it's real or why it's fake. Also, don't forget that tonight on The Last Word, we are asking, has Kenya's economy improved? Has it not? We've got the questions on social media. You can also be participating on that. Don't go anywhere. Coming back shortly, answering that question. Are those two videos real or fake? Is Joe Agay and CJ Emeritus David Maraga selling something? Or is that video from an actual demonstration in Nairobi, Kenya? Back in a moment. This is The Last Word.
Every crime has a story.
She didn't have her hair.
Every mother leaves a trail.
Kaona mahali amepost, guys, I used to die.
If I try to do something, ama kusema kitu yote, they will kill me.
But not every case find justice.
Apelekwe kotini, ahukumiwe.
Walisikia polisi wakisema tumekamalizia.
Maaskari wakatuambia kujeni kwa maiti yenu, huyu amekufa hapo.
For the first time, we queue deep inside Kenya's most chilling murder cases.
Kulikuwa na panga mingi, kulikuwa na chuma mingi.
More horrific and ominous details were about to unfold.
So it's just a personal vendetta.
Murder tapes. The truth buried in the evidence.
Many of the secretaries who are there, they don't want to play calls even on WhatsApp.
We have a political system in Kenya that favor criminals.
We cannot have a president donating 20 million to churches every year. We can't have taxes being misappropriated. We can't have 7 billion being allocated to parliament when education is suffering.
We struggle to understand how we are supposed to have our taxes.
So let's not sit and wait for someone else to do something. You, what are you doing to fix this nation?
What if he caught up with you? You said you need a title to do the right thing.
Thank you so much. May this country, may this nation appreciate your efforts that I can't do much, but let the world know that exist.
This is The Last Word.
Well, good evening and thank you very much for keeping it locked. We're here with a live audience and what we're doing right now is the NTV Fact Check. We have been looking and interacting with the audience here and asking what's real and what's fake. We played some 2 videos. One of them is what we want to interact now and actually get to understand whether it's true or fake. And I'll ask our director to cue it and play it, and then we'll engage this and come into the actual video. So this first video has someone who appears to be Joe Argeo, who is one of us tonight, and somebody who appears to be Chief Justice Emeritus David Maraga, and how they were engaging in that conversation.
Corruption has literally, it's sending this country into on its knees. Public debt is huge. Asking what the borrowing that have been done since 2013 is it how many trillions? More than 8 trillion has done. You can't your hands, you can't see what it has done. The Kenyans today are burdened with the public debt simply because these borrowings have been taken and they have ended up in people's pockets. They have ended up in mansions in foreign countries where people for holiday homes.
So this is another version of that video, okay? And we had said, is there a real video or a video? The previous one that we had played earlier, and this one, maybe you can actually vote now. Is this a real video or a video? Green for real is red. Allah, all of you think this is a real video? Okay. Joe, you had an interview with Chief Justice Emeritus David Maraga, and we saw some portion of it which is what was aired, and then you recorded another part of it, which where you start business. Is that so?
That guy who seems to look like me says 40,000 people or something are quitting their jobs. I haven't quit mine. So that's the first. Clearly I haven't. And I think that we'll talk about, what is up with that. But to me, it's basic questions like that. Like, if people are quitting their jobs, why is that guy still seated there? But yeah, which video? No video. A very serious interview on national matters, not... Yeah, I think that for me is a disturbing thing. And I know you are going to tell us you got that video from. But I think, generally speaking, this is something that we are experiencing a lot of lately. I mean, very many people, whether they are people in the public space, whether they are, communicators, whether government officials, all of these people. So they write on that, and then this are scams.
Joe being my constant desk here, I'm with him in noticing that this is also very risky.
This is not one of those that I did before you were on. I can guarantee you that.
This happened just a couple of days ago.
Now AI is in when I'm born, so as your AI lawyer, well, I think it's significant that we appreciate that we're in a level, or rather in a stage within development worldwide where AI is formidably important. Where it is in spreading information, but then again also in spreading misinformation and information at the same time. But the essence, the amount of reputation damage that can happen when such an instant is there, with no proper policies to data protection, to all constitute how to control AI, but also the viability of having social media apps take very strict measures to protect persons. You can imagine if Joe didn't have an opportunity to actually clear up the situation, where would you be quitting that you're actually saying on the AI? I think it's important. And then if you notice from how the audience was voting, it really banks on logic and the social cues from people. It pushes information that knows you relate to, and it knows you will comprehend as well. So that's very, very easy to manipulate. And so we have to be very careful, but equally embrace it in a way that can be countered.
Indeed, we'll come back into Sharon and James as we engage on the second video. But just this one, Joe has clarified that what was captured in the first clip was fake because he never said anything like that. But we are lucky to have Joe with us here. How would you know if you have not engaged with Joe? Now, many people have actually called into Nation Group saying, I'd like to know, the way Joe and CJ Maraga was saying, I'd like to know how I can invest and I put in my money. And this is something common, like they've said. The most basic thing about fake videos is use logic. It's very likely that Joe Argyle could have a conversation with CJ Emeritus, David Maraga, and they're talking about an investment, and you've not seen it anywhere else. You've not seen the full interview. The only interview that you'll come across is an actual interview of Joe Argyle and David Maraga talking about David Maraga and thinking about the current situation in the country, and even declaring that he wants to be on the ballot in 2027. That is the real video. So it's about logic, but also listen keenly to how the audio is being manipulated. Look at the lips as they are moving. Listen to how the audio actually sounds, and for any other audio of that same pattern, you will be able to detect differences. Not easy, but use logic. Now on to the second video, where we saw some people, huge crowds, and a demonstration, and they were chanting. And we asked, and there was huge heated debate here, whether that is a real video or it's a fake video. A majority of the people here actually said that they don't consider that to be a real video, but there are some people who consider that to be a real video. Now we're going to play that video again, and then we'll start interrogating how do we know whether this is real or fake. Let's play the first initial video. Now, if you look at that video, you'll see a couple of things. Number one, and has been said here before, is it real that you will actually have a situation in Kenyan demonstrations around this past year where you don't see any security forces? Is it likely that that video is not even in Nairobi? If you look at the video itself, are you able to recognize some of the buildings that you know it's written to be Nairobi? You know which part of Nairobi this is. Now, our friends at Check did a deep fact check to this one, and they helped us to just go through and walk through this. How do you tell whether this video is real or whether this video is fake? Number one, do you actually know this part of Nairobi? And if you look at this video, and if you actually just superimpose the video and something else, look at the video and look at the image and the buildings. You can clearly see that these are buildings that are not in Nairobi. The streets don't look like Nairobi. And If you did just a reverse image search on such a video, you'll find that is in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, not Nairobi. The street is actually Church Avenue in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Right? That's where the Maandamano was taking place, not in Nairobi. Some people were there, and they're in the room tonight. They were not in the Nairobi one. They were probably in the Addis one. What was happening in Addis? Now, this was around September 2018 when there were protests in Addis Ababa over a spate of insecurity. There had been a rise of insecurity and acts on people, and people came out onto the streets to protest on that. So one is you do a reverse image search. But also, if you look at how the people are marching and all, you will just tell that this is, and somebody said, the uniformity of people chanting what they're chanting in the Maandamanos that we've seen in Kenya. 2024, did we actually have those loud chants saying those words in 2024? And there'll be now questions that start emerging that, no, we didn't see that. All the images that you've seen of Maandamano in Nairobi do not have something like this. So you're able to tell this is not looking like somewhere that you know to be Nairobi, okay? We also have some experts who do this kind of fact-checking here and be able to engage with us here. Let's play the real video of what was happening in September 2018 in Addis Ababa. Yeah, and what you watch it and you'll be able to hear it and you'll hear what they say. But James, this is something that's common that newsrooms are grappling with all the time because people have taken footage from you and they've gone and manipulated it and they're using it for something else.
It's a problem, Latif, and the final video on the protest is a tricky. I could hear the reasons of, AI generated, possibly couldn't see police and people on the chanting uniformity. Zaha mentioned something about social cues. The problem with that video is it fed off from the many videos that you had seen during Maandamano that couldn't recognize a place and space. So if someone brings you a certain video, say from a place, Kiambu, that you've never been, you'd believe that is the truth because you've never been in that space. So the thing that these videos are doing is to feed on your sense of, I've seen many videos like before, and so this is possibly, and it reinforces into the idea that you need to just keep on sharing. You share because this happened. And this is what we need to stop. You don't need to share everything that you see, number one. Number two, that video had the problems with it. That place, you couldn't recognize it. But yes, Telltale sign, it was a very small crowd. The videos that we'd seen inside VD Nairobi were a bigger crowd and of a different angle. So it looked a bit grainy. So that shows you that it had been manipulated as an old video. So those are the things that you need to look out for, even as we're in this moment where hundreds and thousands of videos are produced during Maandamano, for instance. You possibly can't know all of them and see all of them. But usually when it's a fantastical claim, the audio is very on sync, everyone is saying the same thing, and it's a big crowd, there's a bit of a problem in there. And that should give you this indication of you're perhaps dealing with a manipulated video in that sense.
I mean, not much to add. The question for me would be, you'll be consuming this kind of material, the videos, as an ordinary Kenyan, and wondering whether it's real or fake. What's the harm in that? What's the harm in that? And there's a lot of harm in this era of this much production. I guess it calls for conscious consumption. If there's no particular call at the end of that video, if there's nothing that seems like a product, maybe your product. There's a propaganda that's shared for a particular reason. Maybe social engineering, wanting one or another, they can get some, information, sensitive information from you. So just calling for that prince in this consumption, yeah.
So, have you changed your mind? Yes? You agreed now you are not there. Okay. Joe, what is the real last word to speak tonight?
All right. Eric, I think it's just important to, one of the things I usually do, it's an old trick, but just sometimes crowd wisdom really helps when it comes to these things. Most of the places, if people are able to comment, you will see one or two comments that raise doubts about this thing, because not many people who are clever enough to smell AI-generated videos from a distance, and that will give you a clue. Anytime there's a doubt, it means that before you do anything, then you can check a bit more before you get that. And the warning here is that AI is getting better at all these things, so it just means that there's need for more prudence, but also, I think, more reason to defer to established outlets, such as the one we represent, because it really helps to check whether this is something that you can trust or not. But now to another conversation. I don't think this one is fake, because we are talking about the economy. And there have been many debates about this. The government statistics that say the economy is growing, the fundamentals are strong, as the economists would say. But then everywhere you go, there are many people who say, I'm not feeling it in my pocket. I think it is important for us then to ask ourselves whether anything is changing. And so the question that we've been asking, which is already posted on all of our social media handles, is, has Kenya's economy improved in the last 5 years? That's a question that we will be engaging on. That is really where we want to have the last word on this show. But before we get any further, we have an audience here, and Eric, you'll be talking about fake videos. Now we want to talk about the economy, which really has to be real for everybody who is here, unless you live a different reality. So let's get some thoughts from our audiences, whether you really think the economy has improved in the last 5 years.
The mic, close the mic at the back. Okay, you can stand up, please. Tell us your name and what.
Thank you. My name is Benson Munene. I come from Embakasi North in Dadora 3. And I want to say this. They say when a small boy is able to control the direction of his urine, then definitely or officially he becomes a man. And I want just to be very clear. As Kenyans, I want to award on that top of my man. We are becoming gentlemen and truthful men. Don't have to be told that the economy is growing. Well, else when it comes to us, we have nothing to offer. We are offering. Unemployment is growing each and every day. I think at the same time, when you are giving us those data, you have to consider some factors that maybe can affect the growth of an economy, rather than play idle games to us. We are very informed. And you should not force respect to us. This government, they should, and I can be very specific. The president, if he wants respect, let his wife respect him, but not us kids.
What are the factors? What are the indicators for you? Because you say
the factors, definitely, government plays a very big role. They have, when it comes to economy, we have technology, we have trade and business. Those are the factors, and the employment, definitely.
All right.
Yes.
So we can hear from some other side, a lady maybe at the back, the lady here at the back who's raising her hand.
My name is Marcy. I'm from Embakasi. And you've asked about the factors that are, or the indicators of Kenya having, like, the economy not growing and all that. So here's the thing, yeah? When you look at factors, you see that the rate of unemployment has been increasing. When you look at structural unemployment, when you look at the point in time whereby skills are advancing, people are not able to match with that set of skills, then there's the whole talk on structural unemployment. Look at frictional unemployment and all that, and the frictions in the market, then it's evident that there's all that unemployment. Unemployment increases also at the point in time by people are the whole open involuntary employment, whereby we're willing to work, we have the certificates and all that, but the country has not offered us the employment opportunities, then that is one factor we're talking about. Another factor we're talking about is the whole essence on the whole appreciation of currency, right? When there's the whole appreciation of currency talk, we have the imports on our side are getting cheaper. But then the exports here, we do not have much extra to give. So it becomes also, the point in time we think it's a surplus on our side, it's not. It's actually a deficit because we don't have that much exports. And that is a big indicator that the whole thing on recession and all has been happening. Look at it from the view of inflation. Inflation was 4.1. Until now, I think they've maintained it
all right. I think we can hold it there because there are a lot of views here and just see all these faces. Everybody wants to something. But your point is made. Very, very important issues that raised, and we'll come back to you. But Sharon, who is up here, did a bit of a reality check, took 1,000 shillings, Kenya shillings, went out to shopping to just what it can buy now, and she will tell us what that used to do and what it has done today. Let's have a look at that.
On this episode of The Last One, we ask a question that's on many Kenyans' minds. What can 1,000 Kenya shillings today get you in a Kenyan supermarket? The headlines speak of economic shifts, but how exactly does that translate to your shopping basket? Let's find out. So 1,000 shillings, here is the budget that I have. Do I go for oil, or is rice or unga priority for the family today? This kind of choices is not just a game, it's a dilemma that many face every day. Picked 3 items so far. I want to take some rice because I'm planning the meals for the week for the family. And looking at the options that I have, because I have 375 shillings left now out of the 1,000 budget, I have to compromise both quality and quantity. I'm forced to take 1 kg of the low price available. This is going for 155 shillings. I don't know what that means for the quality, but that's what I have to do with the budget that I have. Okay, so I had 45 shillings left. Was home to get a packet of milk, but in this supermarket, a 500 ml packet of milk ranges between 53 shillings and 60 shillings. So that's out of budget. Bread is standard at 65 shillings. That's the standard size bread. So I can't afford that either. Looks like I'm just gonna have to take a bag to carry what I've already bought, and maybe some sweets or tea. All right, so I want to explore how the current economic climate is affecting the ordinary Kenyan, and if I give Kenyan 1,000 Kenya shilling, what are they going to prioritize? Benson, naona ulichukua mafuta, maziwa, chumvi, sukari na unga ya ugali na tea bags. How did you reach this decision? Ulifikaje kwa vitu ya kuprioritize? Kwa ngumu?
Hai ngumu juu ni ile vitu natumika kila siku daily. Ni lazima ujinyime jia pesa juu vitu nyingi vinaweza hitajika. Lakini sasa unajinyima ya kulimit. Kuna rasi but katwa juu ya ilikuwa juu kiasi. Na kuna vitu mob.
1,000 shillings. A sum that used to go so much further now barely scratches the surface for the common Kenyan look to put food on the table. This isn't just about number on a page. It's about real people, real families, and the real struggles in our economy. The question remains, what more can be done to ease the burden on the Wananchi? Sharon Momanyi for The Last Word.
Wow, so there is the reality check. 1,000 shells could only go so far. I truly felt for Sharon. But that is really what lots of Kenyans are dealing with on a daily basis, some on less than 1,000. But Zaha, you saw that. What crossed your mind?
No, a good example every Gen Z would relate to it. A couple of years ago, buying chinin was the best thing you could do because it was easily accessible. Right now, 2 pieces will shock you. But going to the dynamics of the realities, I, for example, as a young person, get to experience, and it's unfortunate because the conditions I've had, the economy doing well on paper. When you come to the normal mwananchi, a normal young person, the devastating situation is beyond. So the formal sector earnings right now, on average, a young person is getting 30,000 Kenyan shillings per month in average. And this is $200 US. When you're looking at the fact there's a rent, when you're a student, you have day-to-day bus fare. When you're a student, you have to eat. You're probably in a situation whereby examinations and things like that have to be paid for. And average, and that is in a formal sector earning, it is ridiculous. Unemployment is at 7% right now for young people between the ages of 18 to 34, meaning government is not producing enough to accommodate millions of young people who are going to the job market. We're having side hustles and other engagements taking 71% of the engagement of young people, but informal sectors are not regulated. So even when you're below wages, there's nowhere for you to tackle back. We have aspiring entrepreneurs, young people, about 87% who are interested in starting businesses, but 72% of those young people cite capital issues. More importantly, that it is difficult to get anything moving, from online businesses to even something small, having a smoky stand. Taxes, city council, it is impossible to exist. You have skills mismatch, and I'm sure somebody mentioned that. Whatever push to study in universities doesn't suit the realities of what the market requires at the moment. The cost of living is becoming increasingly difficult, and it's the inflation eroding the purchasing power of young Kenyans. And lastly, I think, which is something common, the mental fatigue of young people is absolutely devastating. Has become so serious that right now, even upon mental illnesses and mental challenges, you cannot barely access psychosocial support, which I think is becoming quite a relevant issue when it comes to young people. Then it begs the question, how are we having a youth bulge that is resourceful, that is very active, yet the government can barely bring it back to the formal sectoral space of the labor force? I think it's devastating when you have more than a third of the 13.7 million people, which is absolutely 38.9% of youth, eligible to work, but no. Yeah.
All right, great. So we have experts in the room because it's trying to make sense of it all, and it's a very complex subject we accept and agree. Economics, in many ways, subject of political negotiations. What we feel in the pocket is a reality. You know, there are an experts. How should we look at this in terms of economy improving or not improving? What are the parameters?
And James, just to add, the audience becomes respectful. I mean, it's a civil conversation, whatever views you have. Very important.
Absolutely.
Thank you, and it's nice to be here. There's been a lot of mention about the challenges of being able to afford, and what Sharon did, which was particularly going to a shop and try and see what 1,000 bob can do. Now, when we say a lot about the cost of living, technically what we are speaking of is the ability of a household to have money in the pocket to be able to afford what I would call a comfortable or a well enough life, which basically is they can afford to have food on the table, they can have good health care, they can take their children to school and the likes. So when we speak about the cost of living, technically what we are speaking about is what income do we have household? When you look at a country like Kenya, you know, over the last couple of years, we've seen definitely an increase in the prices of, you know, big household commodities and what have you. The Kenya National Bureau of Statistics actually does a good job in trying to keep tabs on how much are these basic commodities and their costs going actually. So the famous inflation, which comes up. What many Kenyans might know is that the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics tracks about 330 services and goods that are commonly utilized by households. Everything from food, milk, which Sharon couldn't into, but sorry for that. Transport, for those who take matu, for those who drive fuel and everything comes with it. Healthcare, for those who are farmers, fertilizer and all that. And it gives you a picture of the fact that that has been increasing. That's not the biggest headache. The biggest headache is, do you have an income that can keep up with the fact that you have to buy those commodities and price is growing? So the assumption is that your income should also be growing.
Should keep up.
Should keep up.
Yeah.
I hope then get better than what the expenditures. Yeah. And that then brings to have incomes been increasing. Now, the World Bank put out a very interesting report the last couple of weeks. And one of the charts is in that report, and I'm happy that a lot of the people here are economic students, so I'm sure they'll go read it, is a chart there that shows that since 2020, when COVID hit, the average real incomes, so there is income before we factor in taxes and inflation and everything. When you factor in those to your gross income, those real incomes have already been dropping. Since 2020 is almost 5 years now. So what does that mean? So your inflation has been going up, so the cost of commodities has been going up. And when you throw in other market factors, it's not just inflation that increases the cost of goods. If you introduce a tax, that good also goes up. And so if you have incomes going down and you have commodities and the prices, we have to pay going up, then it means technically, I'm not able to afford what I could afford 2 years ago at the same rate. If I applied this 1,000 shillings to 2020 and how I would have it now, then things would be very different. And practically, so the latest inflation report we have shows that our inflation is at, for June, was 3.8%. What that technically means is that June of 2024, what my 100 shillings, let me go down from even 1,000, what my 100 shillings could buy me, now we get a similar value of 3 shillings less, right? So incomes become really the focus. Our incomes go to grow at the same pace as how the different aspects that we have to pay for in life are actually going up.
Okay.
And that then relates to the question that was on, is it on paper? So this economic growth on paper, or is it real? And GDP has been growing, and we've had story for a long time. Is it real? Yes, it's real. There's growth in the GDP. But the big question we have to ask ourselves as Kenyans is which part of the economy is growing?
That's a good question. And I want you to hang on to that question because which will inbuilt the political question and the conversation that you all have, Ruben Muhindi and other economy, been following this. Right off today, the president said Kenya is the 6th largest economy. Our economy has been growing, and in fact, we're out of the doldrums, right? We're getting better and better. Please, talk to us around this question of expansion of the economy and our ability, my ability individual, to feel the impact of the economy.
Thank you so much. My name is Ruben, an economist. I think one thing when we think about the economy and the size of economies, which people talk about like GDP, I think the first place is to unpack that. So, for example, the money that government spends, that counts to the calculation of what a government or a country's GDP is. So you could actually spending and probably overcosting. I mean, we've had things like budgeted corruption, a word that is thrown around, which is true. So it is not necessarily the case. Maybe let me start with the end of where I'm heading. It's not necessarily the case that more government expenditure or, like more spending. Of course, it makes your GDP grow and your economy grow, but that doesn't really translate to this purchasing power that you're talking about.
But can I say, to its credit, for 2022 elections, the Kenyan economy was in the doldrums. There was the pandemic, and by the time we came here, our debt levels were incredibly high. Would it be correct that this government has worked and improved the economy? Would that be a fair statement?
Is the economy grown? Has the welfare of Kenyans improved? No, because you know, like the way we measure the economists, you know, it's all looking at what are the components of the economic, what is the government spending, what is the industry spending, what are you and me as private consumers spending. So that could actually be going up. But one thing we know, and I want here, if you allow me to just, you know, insist on points, we have to at least, and I like this kind of last word conversation, is to separate between, you know, the economic numbers, the GDP, as a number about it's like the size of the economy, separate from welfare.
So the size of the economy and welfare, those are two separate things.
Yes, because when we measure when we say the economy has grown, I mean, when we say in the first quarter of 2025, the economy grew by 4.9%, we mean the size of the economy grew by 4.9%.
Does it mean my money also in the pocket has increased by 4.9%?
Not necessarily, because it depends who's spending within that breakdown of that economy. And that's why I'm talking about welfare. I mean, I saw the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, and their last report say Kenya's poverty headcount is close to 40%. And tells you two things, and it's one of the points I want to build up. One is, if the economy is growing, say at 4.9% or close to 5%, and, you know, a sector like agriculture even getting to 6% growth, and there's complaint around the welfare, the cost of living, it also, and also the poverty headcount is quite high. That tells you the number that we probably don't see reported that way, that is also going up, which is dependency.
The number of days.
And dependency means, like, from the income that you actually get, how many people actually get to depend on you.
Okay.
So I think one thing I can infer, just looking at Kenya's economy, I can already tell from the numbers and the growth and how people are feeling about cost of living, I can already tell that the dependency rate has gone up.
Okay.
And my second point I want to make is more like a question to throw it back to you, but also like to the audience here. I like the video around going shopping with 1,000 shillings and what 1,000 shillings can do for you and what it could. I mean, I remember when I was in campus many years ago and doing economics, and, you know, 1,000 shillings could do a lot. I mean, you know, I don't remember having 1,000, you know, like 1,000 notes. Even if I had like 500 and 200 and a couple other notes. Yeah. And it's around the question of, when we talk about income, and this is a question I'm throwing back, is like, what is income? If you go shopping with 1,000 and you can only buy very few things with this 1,000 shillings, what is remember, you're buying goods, right? So you're buying milk, you're buying sugar, you're buying maize flour, you're buying all these things. So each of these things has a price. But you have income, whether you're for kibarua every day or mjengo, or you have a salary that comes at the end of the month. So you're looking at your income versus the price. But the question I'm throwing is that, what is an income? Income is the price of labor. So
we haven't spoken about that yet.
Yes, so I'm just saying the question I want to throw back, maybe we should ask, if the prices of things in the economy are going up, why is the price of labor not going up?
That's a very good question. I want to finally ask another expert in the room. Tobert, introduce yourself. And to this question, is our economy increasing? Is it expanding? Are we looking at it the wrong way? Rupert says we should be looking at the price of how much labor, the income you're putting in.
Okay. Thank you. My name is Not. I am a society and culture researcher with ODEV. So I don't have the expertise to answer the economic question. I think this gentleman better placed to answer that. But I can answer the people question. We spend a lot of time talking to Kenyans out in the field, in focus group, doing surveys almost every other month. And I'll tell you, probably in the last decade of doing surveying Kenyans, I'm yet to run into a single Kenyan who say the economy is doing great. Okay. I think that raises a question that Kinuthia asked. The economy might be growing, but it's growing for whom? Okay. A lot of what you hear in terms of the sentiment we hear economically, it's things are tough. Things are tough. We actually started asking Kenyans a different question, and I'd like to, in the spirit of throwing it back in the room, when is the last time the economy was good?
That depends. If you're Joe Aguero, it's just no. It's a few, there's 40,000 jobs at giving. So, but anyway, point.
We are forced to actually ask that question because
But really, what's there to that? What was the last time the economy was good for you?
But that's the problem, because the economy is both macro and so personal. You know, it's every day. To the experiment that you've conducted with the 1,000 Bob, for every single person, the economy is personal. So if the government spends every year telling me that the economy is growing, but I'm not feeling it in my pocket, if I'm seeing it in the price of goods, not seeing it in the end of the day, once I've done doing all my expenditure and not being left with anything, then the economy is not working for me.
Are we judging government a bit harsh here? Government doesn't employ of us. What is it that we need the government to do so that we can say that is the responsibility of government, but it reflects then on what happens to me, so that I feel the economy works, the labor, the income improves, and whatever pocket improves?
That's the important question. And again, I'll throw it back to the economists, because I think they're better to answer this. But the heart of that question is, does the government owe you a job? Does the government owe you income? Is the heart of the question.
Let's chime in.
I'm just going to chime in that, because when I was preparing for them, just trying to answer that question, and I remember doing story, like literally 10 years back. Joe was my boss at the time. I traveled all the way to South Korea. At the time, we were doing a comparative study. This was a country that grew from an underdeveloped country, changed the stakes of its economy and the welfare of its people. And looking at our status, I think there's one thing that seems the common thread of what we are saying. The growth is a macroeconomic level. You know, from my understanding of GDP, it's like the total value of the goods and the service that we produce as a country. I don't know if that's the economists would agree to that, but that increasingly this seems to be very exclusionist, that it's very select and, you know, not by intensive kind industries that are growing. Talk of telecommunications, talk of real estate, the industries that then maybe keep to, you know, grow these indicators to our economy are not labor intensive. That means we are growing on an expansionist level. There's more services that we are giving, there's more goods that we are producing, but then the people who are involved in that process are very few, and they're not majority of Kenyans. That's how I see it. And then conversation then would be for government, how do you expand this such that these industries have some sort of obligation to the majority, or if not these industries, then how do we then expand this to the informal sectors, which forms the biggest employer in the economy, that you know, even as things become more expensive, your purchasing power relates to the life that we're living. So it goes down to a policy issue.
Yeah, I think mine is a question that I've answered myself since every day is a disappointment in this economic existence. But for the people perspective and from my incredible suffering within this economy at the moment, I think the purchasing power parity actually very much depends. I think all of us can agree that there's a section, even with young people, there's a section of young people that seem to do really, really well, even when the economy is absolutely terrible for common mwananchi. Yet there's a systemic demographic of young people who are actually doing really, really worse. And there's some statistics I came across that I believe, Ruben, you have mentioned, Well, then we have moved from 17.8 million people in the poverty to 18.9 million. So we pushed 1.1 million people to poverty within this predicament. And I'm looking at if 1.1 million have been pushed to poverty, then how many people then have their wages reduced, that we are not, yes, in the poverty line, are systemically and institutionally not surviving properly. And then when we talk about, does the government owe us jobs? I think the government owes me an environment for me to create one, if so. The government owes me policies that do create spaces for investors to come and I can go take part in a job. The government owes me a country where I stably identify capital incentives can go. The government owes me education that meets the market or target. Government owes me an existence as a young person to transition from dependency to independent. I don't think that's structurally something that we can contain. So we are put in a space where I have to look digitally. And right now, even social content creation is right now taxed. So the incentives and monetization is so not working. I feel like it's a two-way paradigm whereby as a young person can sit down and develop and think and come up with ideas, but I don't have an environment that supports me to move on to create that capital.
James, I think one of the more consequential questions that people often ask at a time like this is, are you better off? And this is a question that was asked on October 28th, 1980, when we had a presidential debate between Democratic candidate Jimmy Carter, who was seeking a second term, and Ronald Reagan, a Republican who was seeking to unseat him, and he actually did. And so Jimmy Carter had gone into this, having cut back on some of the opinion poll numbers that had put him doing dismally. Then it was very close now to catching up with Reagan in polls. And then during the debate, Reagan asked this question: are you better off than you were 4 years ago? And even Carter himself actually said no, and his poll numbers tanked, and we know now that he actually lost the election. But I posed this question in some ways to a certain friend of mine who is a banker, and who asked, so we have had government numbers saying that the economy is actually doing well. They said the fundamentals and all of that. And so I said, but why is it that when I speak to, my auntie in the village and my uncle somewhere, they all say that there's no money. They say hakuna pesa hii. And so the guy said something interesting. He said the fundamentals are in the right direction, but there is a confidence problem. And I'll be very happy to hear what the economists have to say. So I went on to say, okay, what are these fundamentals? He's talking about the whole thing of GDP having recovered from the minus growth in 2020, moving slowly to where we are, an average of 5% over that period, he said, and then inflation declining. I think there was 3.8 in the latest numbers that we saw. Revenue collection kind of in the right direction. The central bank has cut interest rates back about times over the last 1 year. Basically, he said that technically the fundamentals seem to be pointing in the right direction. He said there's a confidence problem. So I said, what is that? So he's saying, there is political unpredictability. There are a lot of things that Zaha is talking about, the protests and the uncertainty around taxes and all of the things. He talked about the debt fears, that could we default, things like those. So there's this general feeling in the air that something could go fundamentally wrong, basically saying that these good indicators we are seeing today, will they be there tomorrow? Is the environment that we are seeing capable of supporting long-term growth, so that if I have some money, I can put it somewhere. So basically, they were saying there's a lot of money in the bank that is just sitting there, but people are borrowing it. The interests for the banks themselves are not come down. But he also said that you know, people make money, but they can't invest because they don't know what's going to happen next. People would perhaps bring in their money to invest in the country, not sure whether there's going to be a riot, whether the government itself will survive, so all of those things then constitute this thing that is called confidence. I thought that was a really interesting take. So when you think about this question of better off, the answer for many people is no. But I'm asking, but how is it the numbers appear to look good, yet this is the case? And I thought that was an interesting perspective coming from somebody in the banking sector.
So what should our question then be? You know, as a person, and the way we said, if it's very, very personal, should we ever have a conversation about the economy growing and looking at fundamentals, or should you just looking at how you're feeling? Should the question always be, are you better off today?
So I think two things. I think one, the question of the economy, I think, is a political construct on how politicians and the political class would like to explain what's happening to us. And progressively, I think the economy itself becomes like the language to explain what happens to all of us. And therefore, then we have to expand and say, for instance, you accept Joe's explanation, it wasn't always this. The government came into place on pretty much, say, a good state. You know, they had perhaps a free hand in the first year to control those factors so that the factor can go into a good place. But I think the problem that we got into is the political mismanagement of the time of economy is a technical thing, it's a technical subject, so we need to tax people a bit more. 20% of GDP is a small income, they claim, to run government, so we need to get to 25. Those things then take this topsy-turvy situation we have, and so we have the political side of explaining economy in such sort of obtuse terms that we cannot relate with. And then the social side of things, we have this unhappiness with how things are going. And maybe that is what we have in this constraint of explaining what's happening to all of us, because in political terms, yeah, you know, economies keep on expanding. We're not really out of, you know, debt burden, but we are doing better than we were maybe 2 years ago. And that creates a problem that we're in. We are unable to explain what's happening to all of us.
I feel like...
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I guess it's tied down to that question of that disparity, which tends to be a common paradox in developing countries, that you feel the GDP growing, but the people are really not feeling it in the quality of their lives. And for me, like, looking at solutions side, I think it comes back to having human-centered kind of development policies. And I don't know, this is a question I would throw to the economists, because I like to...
questions to the economists.
Sometimes I build castles in the air, but I feel like this is the kind of inclusive development that then looks at how to grow right from job creation. It means the skills mismatch Zaha was talking about, going right back to what we are trained in our schools. We have done a lot in terms of TVET development in the country and trying to do this technical stuff, but how do we tie loop from what the market actually needs to what we are studying in our schools? I think this is not a new conversation. This is a conversation I had right from that 10 years ago. But I'm yet to see much of development in that sector, in that direction. Why is this important? Because then it's everything around. Otherwise, we are just going to keep developing on paper, but not in book.
You want us to listen to the president, because I think he has spoken about very state of the economy. I think we have that soundbite now.
We have weathered turbulent times, navigated serious challenges, and through courage, policy decisions pursued with resolve, we have not only stabilized our economy, but also charted a clear course to long-term prosperity.
Oh my God. All right. Eric.
Yeah. Can you just see from the audience how we feel about this? about this statement, or red flags or green flags.
Vile
unafeel too, by the way. There's no question particular after the bite. How do you feel? This side doesn't want to vote, then it's fine. This side is fine.
This side, they don't want to vote.
They vote. You guys are happy. Yes.
We are tired. Yeah.
We're coming back to that.
Yeah. No, it's actually quite interesting to see that everybody's raising their flag. The red flag. Yeah. So that gentleman I was talking about, he says that the numbers say yes, but the mood says not yet. And I think it's fair to just check what the economists are saying, right, now that a lot has been thrown their way.
Yes. So I want to wrap with the economists before we go to everyone else. So let me finish with Norbert, then to Kinodia, and then to Ruben. There's a lot that has been said. Let's try it for all of us, okay? Norbert.
So I think the tying on my end with this, yes, it is personal. But I think last year, June is also a very major indicator of us. There is me individually feeling my pain, and then it's me going to BD and finding hundreds of thousands of other Kenyans saying, oh, you're feeling this too? So at that point, it's not a theoretical. What we saw in June 2024 was an economic protest, right? At that point, it was an economic protest. It was, this government has said we need to raise more revenues and going to come with this set of taxes in this financial bill. And you have an entire nation coming up in arms saying, you can't do that. You can't just any further. We are at the end. So, yes, economic indicators, yes, the numbers, but to your point, I think what you said is important. It's how economics is also communicated is also a political problem. Because I'll be honest, and maybe this is a problem for the economists, you guys are not very good at communicating what you guys are.
Well, let's get to Ruben, who's not very good at communicating. Ruben, I didn't say it. I've attributed that comment. Please, tie it down for us.
I mean, to build on that, I agree. Sometimes we fail terribly at communicating, but also it depends what is there to be communicated. If it's looking ugly, putting it in words become really bad. I think I want to tie it up with two things. One, I think, Zaha, you mentioned, government owes us this, owes us that, owes us this. Well, sometimes I'm really careful with this thing that what government owes us. My school of thought is that government owes us very little, but what it owes us comes a lot. And I think one, government owes us public goods. So public goods is, everything we use that helps us. And you enjoying the roads or security in this country doesn't interfere with my rights or my ability to actually enjoy the city. And governments, I know it mentioned in the business sense, as an enabling environment. That if I have an issue with my brother here, I can go to court and I can count on court system to enforce a contract. But also, government owes an interference, and I think that is the one thing I really want to mention. Non-interference is like, because if you were to ask to summarize what's happening around the economy right now, I think government is waging war against business with all the tax hikes and everything happening around the tax policy. It's like waging war against business. So we are owed this non-interference in that sense. Then the last thing I want to mention is we keep using the word government. Government should make us jobs. Government should create jobs. Who is government? Government is two things. Government is politicians and government is bureaucrats. So when we talk about creating jobs, I want you to imagine in your head, and this is my last point, think about the politician the governor in your county. Think about the best entrepreneur in this country. If you had 100 shillings to give either create a job, would you give it to the entrepreneur or would you give it to your county's governor to create a job? And all I'm saying is that the work of creating jobs is not the role of government.
we shouldn't be giving government the job. So that might go here to, as we go to wrap up the economist point of view, because we have a whole thing to make sense and adjust. Has your economy grown or improved in the last 5 years? But, they're good help for us.
So quick. So, Joe, I'm happy you spoke to somebody in the financial sector. Because when we say the economy is growing, actually the two sectors that have been doing really well has been the services sector and the financial sector. Now, the question we have to ask ourselves as a country is how much absorption capacity do those two sectors have for all the discussion we've had from colleagues in the room about jobs? If you think about banks, really doing away, in fact, with tellers, and it's not necessarily the place where you'll absorb these hundreds of thousands of Kenyans who need a job every year. So the choices we make about which parts of the economy we invest in, either in terms of the policies we put in place, in terms of even the choices government is making about where we are spending our budget, will really unlock the areas where a majority of Kenyans really need to find a living wage, in a sense. So think of agriculture, think of manufacturing. Those are two key sectors that really carry a lot of Kenyans. But if you look at the numbers that came out from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, it also happened to be the two areas of the economy where things have plateaued. So it's not necessarily building that much. Secondly, I think there is a really important point to still make on the fact that 50% of Kenyans are poor. So that's not a future problem. That's a problem of today. You need food on the table today. The question is, what do we need to do now? I like what the president is saying about setting us in a trajectory for the future. That's okay. But for those Kenyans, especially who are in that 40% category, they need decision, they need us to make choices that helps them put food on the table today. So, for example, we have the Inua Jamii program, right? So it's an example of what governments do in the immediate to be able to deal with challenges of having a life to live that has dignity. So Inua Jamii covers a couple of million, doesn't get to the half. So 40% is about 21 million of our current population. Inua Jamii doesn't even get to a quarter of that. So we still have a huge part of the population that has to benefit from a wage that will be created mostly, as Ruben has said, by the private sector, formal or informal. So the policy choices we make, the tax choices we make, the choices we make about how private sector accesses credit, right? So government sweeping all the credit off the market and small businesses can't access it. So all those choices that we make compiled together should help majority of Kenyans, 40% plus the others who need jobs and who need to run good business, to be able to run a business and be able to get money, a wage that helps them to cover that their 1,000 shillings is able to offer them a life that they can actually have in their families. So let's not think economics, because this is one of the challenges we have. Public finance, economics is seen as this technical thing, like a small cabal, a cartel. No. Economics are about choices. Choices that we make at our household on the income I have versus what I need to provide for my family. Choices that we make in government about where the government should invest and what policies we should go in, and choices that the private sector has to make in terms of how to get a good income from their business, but at the same time, make sure that they are part and parcel some of these choices that we are making that will get for that income curve to turn upward again. So all of us have choices that we have to make. And the bottom line, that's what economics should be about.
All right. It's great. We are making headway. Some would say we are almost taking off to have a consensus of what it means from, economy expanding and me filling my pocket at the preceding of that. Latif.
We've been running a poll online on all our social media platforms. Remember, we are live streaming this show on NTV Kenya, .co.ke, we are on NTV Kenya, on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube and Facebook. On YouTube, we have 83% of people who have answered no to the question, has the Kenyan economy improved the last 5 years? And we have the similar kind of result. 88.5% of those who have responded to this question, our poll on X, are saying no, while 11.5% are saying yes. Some of those comments, there's somebody who says this economy is depreciating. We don't have the assets. Companies are dying or closing. Prices of goods are skyrocketing. Essentially, this economy reflects the reduction in an asset's ability to generate income or provide economic benefits. No goods, no services, no revenue. Jones. And somebody's asking, has there been a time where people have generally said that are positive about the economy? I want to throw it back. Just coming into, is it about the theory or is it about the sentiment? Because I always look back at somewhere towards the end of Kibaki 1. I know there was all this conversation that, the economy is improving, that Kibaki has come in and he's stabilized the economy, and the pushback that he was getting from the then opposition, and the leader of official opposition then was one Uhuru Kenyatta, the chairman of KANU, was the economy is here, right? So the government is saying the improving economy, and people are saying, what economy? If you look back, did the economy grow in the Kibaki years or did not? So at what point do we remove our personal sentiment from the numbers? Or should we say that, yeah, you go crunch the numbers in the backroom, but the only conversation I want to have is a conversation that I can relate with. Is the economy growing at my personal level?
Those numbers are jarring, and I know everyone wants to before we finish. So, who hasn't spoken? The lady in front hasn't spoken, and she's aiming to speak. And I hope you're going to take your minute to help clear the fog of, is this an economics thing or in the pockets really are doing better?
Thank you. My name is Jerry Maina from Murang'a County. Human Development Index is also another key indicator of economic growth. And we can see these factors include education, they include infrastructure, they include the poverty rates in Kenya, whereby we have seen they have increased by a rate of 1 million. And we also have income inequality, where they have said that is widespread up there, but down here where the people are and the majority are, it's not being affected. So we can see that even the money circulation in Kenya, there isn't, right? So we can see that the money is there, the GDP, as it has been said, it's there, it has grown, but
you feel it?
We don't feel it in the pocket because the rates at which the people are living in, it's really...
Why don't you think you feel it? That's the question I'm really struggling with. Don't you think you feel it?
Because there is no money circulation, there is no high employment rate, there's no enabling business environment for individuals to their business. We have also seen that business are closing, investors are going away. So that's why I feel that the economy is not growing on my end.
Mm-hmm. Is the economy growing? Personally?
No, it isn't.
Why?
And let me begin by...
Quickly, I have 30 seconds.
Yes. One, we've talked about purchasing power, that our purchasing power has reduced. And this is because the income has not been increasing, directly proportional to the increase in the inflation rate. And that is the main problem we are facing in the economy. Because if our income keeps on stagnating at one point, the inflation keeps on growing, then there is no way we can say we are feeling, all these numbers we are saying. And then again, James, you see the political class is really very excited to announce, these big, huge figures because it improves their political image. But then again, they forget that the most important thing to announce is the growth in terms of, the wealth of the citizens.
Okay.
You see?
All right.
Again, lastly, James, let me say this.
You've been lastly. Your economy is not doing well. This economy is not doing well.
This is the last one. Let me say this. We are on a downward trajectory as a country. And you know why? We are operating on a guesswork model called the bottom-up economic model.
These economists will tell you, because I'm also an economist, that there is no such model called a bottom-up economics model.
The subject for another last word. I need to allow other people. Is there anyone in the room whose economy has just been flattened, or it's okay? Anyone? Your economy is okay? Please, give the microphone this side. The economy is okay. Okay is okay. Anyone in the room is okay? Anyone? Going once? It's flattened, okay, you've not improved, you've not decreased. Just fine. Yes, please, stand up.
Okay, thank you. Ireli Wallen from Embu. I think the economy is flattened.
No, for you, how? Explain to me how that presents itself. When you buy things in the supermarket, how does that present for you? The economy is just fine. Your income has remained the same, your buying things have remained the same. Is that your case?
I wanted to put it in the perspective that since we were last hit by the COVID-19, there has been measures the government has been trying to undertake that have at least helped us revive our economy. So to an extent, we haven't achieved at least the growth that we anticipate for, but to me, I feel it has flattened a bit.
Okay. The absolute final word from the audience, and you have to say something really significant, otherwise we'll have to lynch you. All right. The lady with the red hair.
My name is Oprah Winfrey. I am an economics and statistics student at Kenya University. So the Kenyan economy is growing, but benefits haven't reached anyone yet. So economic inclusivity is something that the government should look into. Thank you.
That's very well said. Very well said. So I don't think this, yeah?
Do we have a last one ourselves?
Do you have a last one? All right. Okay, yeah. We have the last one.
Wambugu here. I will try to quote Dendenro. He said, we can try to use all the words to explain the economy, but not the one who is responsible. Come here and to tell the people who are feeling the economy is working. It should be the other way around. So, meaning that the citizens are the ones who should be telling the government the economy is really working. But now, the GDP may be increasing, but there is something called in the GDP numbers, a small group of us, like in Kenya, the politician group could be the ones who are gaining a lot of money, but on the ground, the citizens are not gaining anything. Okay. That's why the numbers may be increasing, but the inequality is there. And that's why citizens are really agitating for some changes, and the economy is working. Thank you.
All right. That's yes, the lady, please. And that is the final word. Yes, the last, yes, the lady, please.
Okay, thank you. Esther here from Kenya School of Law. I'd like to say that as citizens, we must start learning that the world owes us nothing, and we are the ones who are supposed to tell the government what we want. So all I'd recommend, we've all discussed about the government, how they are not delivering all their promises and all that. All we have to do now, we have to structure ourselves as citizens to tell the government what they need to do for us, and we must act responsibly and take precautions, because the world owes you nothing. We don't have to hear saying that we'll wait for government to create jobs for us. No, we have to take initiative in our hands. When the government doesn't give us jobs, how do we create the jobs for ourselves? Thank you.
Absolutely. That's a very interesting to live at.
I love that. I love that, and it echoes what.
And that's your final, absolutely.
It is my last final word. I like that because I believe that as Kenyans we are very hardworking people. I struggle to believe that Kenyans are just out here saying, government, feed us, give us jobs, what as we, rest on. What was those laurels we used to speak about? At the core, and I was on the ground, it was really a very heartbreaking exercise, because even down to the market, we spoke to the people who are selling cannot get anyone to buy. So I don't belabor that point. But my heart is heavy on human-centered development. And there are countries that have gone ahead to show that this is possible.
Right.
It would mean prioritize the welfare of citizens of Kenya ahead of just mere numbers that show that GDP is growing. And this is done, I believe, you have empowered industries, you have empowered entrepreneurs, you have empowered people, such that we won't always be calling on to government, hey, where are the jobs, where are these things? And what does that mean? It centers on a sustained improvement on the quality of life, and also requires deliberate policies, that really emphasize inclusivity and strong social safety nets. This is an investment in healthcare, an investment in education, and covering that nexus of what we are doing in our institutions, our schools, what's in the job market, all tied down to priority, focus. We are looking at the welfare of Kenyans, and that it is doable. That's my last word.
Sharon Momanyi with 1,000 bob. Eric?
On Fixing the Nation this morning, we hosted World Bank Country Director Chime Ofan. We asked him the question, what would you tell the government? And he says, yes, the figures are showing that the economy is growing, but the structures are not right. And what the government to consider is looking at the structure such that the economy then grows and impacts job creation, employment creation, and those other social factors. So the bottom line of this question, politically, the economy is not growing. Kizungu mingi, it could be. Yes. Yes.
Well, you can never have a last word when it comes to matters economics, but there's some things that I think I want to do a rejoinder with the audience. I still believe the government owes me a lot. I work for it and I pay for it. I'm not asking for things that are alu, but maybe to inform what the government could do, because again, they keep calling for solutions and we're told young people don't do nothing. So I think we should go back to step one, educate the masses to fuel the nation, create a space for micro-private economies to flourish, revitalize and scale labor-intensive sectors, then do quality assurance in health, law, justice, etc. that are connected to social, personal, human health, financial systems to circulate the money, improve transport for mobility of goods and services, and also in communications and digital money for accessibility. Lastly, build and sustain cooperatives and social welfare and restore Kenyan dignity. That is my last word.
All right. For me, I think political arrogance got here. The borrowing in the last 13 years, that was economics not working, that was bad public management of our resources. It got us, I think political arrogance got us here when you employ everyone in government and the government balloons. There is an advisor to an advisor to an advisor, a communication consultant for a communication assistant, for a communication director. That's bad governance, and political arrogance gets us here. So my fundamental is we have to fix the politics. Our politics is getting us into a hole. That's the last word. But Bageo has the absolute final word.
Oh, what an onerous task, because in a room full of economists and on a subject as the economy that touches everyone's pocket, I think the last word can only be nuanced, because when you look at the numbers on paper, they are going, whether we're talking about the nominal GDP that we have talked about in this room since the beginning of the show, the statistics show that Kenya has moved. I mean, the economy was at, I think, 10 trillion in 2019. The latest one is about 13 trillion, so that's some growth there. Kenya now ranks 6th in Africa. The president talked about it even today, the largest economy in East Africa. So on paper, yes, the economy has improved, and also some lived realities. But many citizens, especially the youth, rural communities, small businesses, the promise of that growth is yet to translate to real opportunity. So we have to say that in the next 1 year, in the next 2 years, in the next 5 years, that focus must be on inclusion. How what is good on paper suddenly becomes good on the pocket. And that is really the last word. Good night.
Thank you very much, guys. You've done well.
Enjoy the amazing aroma. Enjoy incredibly soft ugali dal. Ia ligi ya kipekee na Aja Premium Maize Meal. A white, soft aroma flour.
Wizara ya Afya itaendesha kampeni ya chanjo kote nchini. Watoto wote wenye umri wa miezi 9 hadi miaka 14 watapewa chanjo ya typhoid, na wale wa miezi 9 hadi 5 watapokea chanjo ya measles rubella bila malipo.
Into an unforgettable adventure with sour, long-lasting butter.
Makofi ya the world champion BB. Na hii makofi ya Morphix, which absorbs the liquid 3 times faster na haiwezi leak even in 3 different movements. Renewed Morphix, ultimate quality.
This week on The Elevate Show.
Would you stay loyal to your partner if they were jailed for over 10 years?
Men, you're not always strong. My person you can trust when you're not strong. When you don't have money, you're sick. When you need help, when you need that for you, to her mother.
I was in a relationship. But kitu moja nilikuja gundua, jela ni kutengwa na mke.
The person you have behind your back matters more than when you're behind the bar.
Sasa ni ngumu, sasa inafika mahali una accept because sami nikiwa huko ndani ilibidi sasa sinikubali nitoe akili yangu hata kwa my relationship because mali mimi na focus nayo ni shingo.
This Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. only on NTV.
When Puzini, do you get the guts to come to my place? Mzaya, please, Niski, hear me out, please. Yani hata una adabu. Yani unakuja hapa kwangu alafu unaniambia kuti nikusikize.
Sanga, nini inaendelea huko?
Wacha nitakupigia baadaye. Kuna mtu anataka kutia adabu hapa.
Hello? What the hell is happening?
We're bringing the hottest show in town. From exclusive interviews with the biggest names in the game.
This is music. Na ukose kuona dance. Na wezi ona dance bila wiki.
Watching Kwetu Mix, respect OGs. Yeah.
To a J set that will knock your socks off.
TV until Friday. Let's go.
Don't miss on the fun. Tune into Kwetu Mix every day only on NTV.
Kwetu Mix in association with Airtel.
Pretty home zizi, tumekumiss mbaya.
Hey bro, hatujamaliza Shwan. Hey, ndio story yako inaanza. Na bado.
Thank you sis. Just like Liza, bado hatujamaliza kazi yetu Kenya. Bado tuna grow. Asanteni wa Kenya.
TV, turning on your world.
Must we?
Leonie Lini?
Tuesday.
Leonie Lini?
Tuesday.
Lini Mariam?
Tuesday.
Very good.
And today you have last word.
Oh,
I'm
no,
so sorry.
you're the last one.
Nimesonga, sorry.
Hey.
Welcome to Fixing the Nation first.
Yes.
Later he'll welcome you to the last word. How are you, Mariam? How are you, Eric?
Good.
Leo, Mendaje, it looks really nice.
Sindio.
It looks so
Too
good.
much.
We coordinate kidogo.
Yeah, wasn't planned, guys. Wasn't planned.
At background, but he changed. Background, you know, people brown, mine,
Yeah.
not.
You're right.
What's happening?
What's happening?
Do
Doing
something.
that.
Mkopoa?
Yes.
Mimi niko poa, sir. Yeah? Well, what about what's happening? I need to be on this side of the screen in the middle. There.
There you
Right?
go.
Yes. Steve, there?
Yes.
Philip? There?
Yeah.
Okay.
Center your shot.
Yes. Yes. Otherwise,
Good. Yeah.
that's a greeting.
That's the
I'm
greeting.
happy you go. No.
Otherwise, fitty. Otherwise,
Today felt like my Monday. So it was a struggle. To get here, no. It was a struggle. Today I was a sleepist.
Hey,
Remember that parliament essay? She's asleep.
Yes, she's asleep.
She's sleeping. Then he said, are you out of? How can we be out of order? She's sleeping and we are discussing things of importance when she's sleeping. She's a sleepist.
Honorable member.
My
Honorable
favorite
member.
thing was still asleep as he said.
Look, she's still
He was asleep.
Oh,
He said
yeah.
that.
Oh, yeah. Did one establish what was happening to the member? What was happening to the member? Was the member unwell?
No, she was just asleep.
She was just asleep.
Walikuwa anapiga kelele
She
hivyo.
was just asleep. Imagine.
When the sleep is deep, it's deep.
It's deep.
Alikuwa ameenda. And she was shook out of it.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
I used to watch the South African Parliament proceedings as comedy.
100%.
Especially when EFF had a motion or saying anything in Parliament. And I got to understand. Anyway, it's a vibrant democracy. Just go search Hussein Ndlozi. Just in Parliament. Or Julius Malema. And Roy.
And there's a compilation of different countries on the continent.
Really?
Yep.
And all the dramatic.
All the dramas in Parliament.
Hey.
Yeah. One day.
Who starred now?
There was the Honorable Millie has appeared in a few. And then there was one of
As a bad
Babuino.
girl, I'm having my 4th term.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
One.
There was
I
that
it had to
one.
be that one, yeah.
Anyway, there were several. Yeah, it was funny. Then there was a guy who went hong hong hong. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Was it Nambia?
Hong.
He was dating somebody who he couldn't understand speak.
Yeah.
And he kept being told, you're out of there. He's like, okay, I'm going to sit down, hong hong. I'm like, what's wrong with that?
Yeah. We copy pasted this democracy thing.
I know.
But lazima to sprinkle our own.
Yes.
Our two things.
We must do our thing.
No, sometimes out of order. Sometimes it's a global phenomenon. You can see it all over the world. That's when you realize, you know what? It's actually all of us. Different countries. Very few reserved and managed to restrain themselves.
Why should they?
Why should they? That's a great question.
Restraint in leadership ni muhimu. But I understand sometimes you're just
humans.
Right.
Sometimes it just
at some point you leap. At some point, I mean, just infuse your mind into it.
Right. Your culture. The New Zealand parliamentarian, I think she's Aborigine. But she's one who was like, she did the haka.
She did haka.
Yeah.
And was reprimanded, which is like, that's her culture.
Right.
She was actually driving a point. It was about a bill that was coming to actually do a lot more harm to the community. And so she came in, and there were people who were they had planned with some fellow members.
Yes.
But she starts
I love the haka.
She did not do it.
I love haka. I love it. I'm always transfixed.
It was more like a no. I'm standing up for her. Yes, that there you go.
So good. I'm just yes. Love it. Anyway.
Interesting times.
Interesting times.
Yes. So leo tuko na interesting conversations pia, right? And we'll have 3 of them. Let's start with the 9 a.m.
Right, we move backwards. At 9 a.m., we'll be hosting the ambassador of Finland to Kenya. His name is Pirkka Tapiola. We'll be discussing international...
Say that again?
Pirkka Tapiola. Yes. Okay. Sorry, let me say it slowly. Yes. Pirkka Tapiola.
Yes. Speak like Finnish. Yes.
Please, because maybe I've said the name several times. I'm used to it, you know.
Rolls the tongue.
Rolls off the tongue.
Yeah.
But he'll be speaking to us about, international relations, Kenyan-Finland relations, what the international community is doing right now in relation to our own internal wahala here and there, right? We'll be discussing all of that with him. The president of Finland was here as well about a month ago, spoke very much about how this is turning south, not east, not west, but south. What does
again?
You're right. Again, this is the second time. That's our 9 a.m. conversation.
Yeah. Our guest is going to have to answer a couple questions on that. He is the World Bank Country Director for Kenya, Rwanda, Somalia, and Uganda, Chimiao Fan. Good morning, Chimiao.
Good morning, Jambo.
Jambo, sir? No. Jambo, what do you say? Jambo Bwana.
Jambo.
Jambo is Jambo.
It was Jambo.
Jambo.
I even got confused. I was like, how do you respond to Jambo?
Say Jambo.
Karibu sana. We fix the nation here one conversation at a time, including the one I'm about to have with you about Kenya's economic performance and the role the World Bank and other institutions play in this, specifically to the World Bank. But to welcome you to the conversation, Janet is to give you the day's quote. She'll tell you who said what, when, where.
And why.
Let's see what you think of it.
Right. So today's quote is by Elizabeth Wathuti. She's a well-known female environmental activist. And in 2019, when she was speaking at the UN Climate Youth Summit, she said, "My truth will only land if you have grace to fully listen. My truth will only land if you have the grace to fully listen." What do you make of that?
I think obviously it's very, very important, right, to think. For me, I think what's really important is to make sure that we, from my own perspective, right, so we do evidence-based decision making. I think that's for me, that what I would take from there, and that's what we do.